if you remove porn from your life completely, but you don't replace it with anything, then eventually you will go back. Addiction isn't just about pleasure. It's about an escape from a life that feels unclear, empty, and misaligned. When you don't know who you're becoming or what you stand for, then you're not really going to have a sense of direction, and that's going to make your life even harder when it comes to overcoming addiction. Comfort becomes your default, and pornography is one of the easiest comforts available right now. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about what to do when you don't feel like you have a sense of direction in your life. Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Inner Revolution. My name is Enoch Fossum. I'm an AMFT who specializes in addiction, specifically pornography addiction. Here you are. But if you are looking for a group of people that have similar goals, as in you want to become someone, you want to become the person that you've always wanted to be without pornography in your life, then this is the show for you. If this is the first time you're listening, welcome to the show and thanks for listening. Before we actually start the episode, if you are looking for a therapist or you're looking for a coach to help you get over that hump or make the next step in your life around kicking pornography addiction in the behind once and for all, then you can schedule a free consultation with me down below. There's going to be a link in the description to just see if we vibe, dude, because I've mentioned it before, but the best predictor of therapy and of coaching is this relationship that we have right here. If you and I get along, then great. More than likely, therapy and coaching is going to be a success for you. But if you don't get along, then I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste mine, which is why we have that free consultation anyway. So go ahead and book that free consultation down below. Okay, so if you're still listening to this, odds are you may not have a clear direction in your life. And maybe you think you do, but it may just be a smokescreen. I guess we'll have to find out. But human beings are wired for movement towards something, to work towards something. So if you don't have a mission, a direction, a meaningful goal, then this energy that you have when you wake up in the morning that your brain supplies to you so graciously, you'll have no direction to put it towards. And listen to this, energy without direction turns into things like restlessness, boredom, escapism, and compulsive behavior. Does that sound familiar? So if you don't aim this energy, if you don't aim your brain at something meaningful, then it's automatically going to go towards something easy. Which again, dude, I mean, pornography nowadays, it's the easiest drug that you can acquire. It really is. Name something easier than that. Weed's already pretty easy to get, but not as easy as that little square in your pocket or the square that you're watching this from. Pornography and addiction in general can become artificial purpose, if that makes sense. Because porn can give a sense of structure, anticipation, reward, and a predictable emotional shift. It ends up becoming something that you actually look forward to, or something to organize your day around, or something that provides intensity, right? Something that provides friction in your life that's already easy. So for some men, porn might be the most emotionally intense thing in their day because they're not doing much else. So it's not about sexuality. At the end of the day, I think it's about understimulation and underdirection or lack of direction. And comfort can be more attractive to you if in your life, if your future feels foggy, uninspiring, overwhelming, and meaningless, then short-term pleasure is going to win every time if that's this vision of yourself. And you'd be surprised, that's pretty common for most people. Discipline ends up being easier when you actually want the life that you're building. When you believe that you're becoming someone, and when you can see a future version of yourself. If not, if you're still feeling foggy or uninspiring, overwhelming, or meaningless, then your body is going to naturally tend to drift towards the feeling of relief rather than seeking growth every time. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if your future is foggy or overwhelming, that's scary. And so what do you do with that? What does the body do with that? Naturally, if you have been struggling with porn, then the brain's going to be like, oh, well, dude, we have the answer. Here's porn, right? If you have a bunch of anxiety or you're feeling really stressed, overwhelmed because of this uncertainty in the future, you don't know what you want to become, where you want to go, then you're going to start to learn to cope. And if those are feelings that you, kind of like we talked about last time, you're peeling back this emotion onion, right? If this is another layer that you haven't felt, like fully felt before, then the body's going to try and cope with that. So before you need willpower, before anything else, you need to come to understand your own values. You need to start shifting your life into more value-based living rather than just drifting back and forth with the whims of life. You need to ask yourself hard questions like, what kind of man do you want to be? What kind of father do you want to be? What do you want your future partner to experience with you, or your current partner to experience with you? What do you want people to feel in your presence? And what do you want your life to actually stand for? Those are questions that are not easy to answer if you haven't thought about them before. It actually takes time, maybe a solid 15 minutes to start really thinking about the answers to these. And remember, values are not goals, they're direction. So it's like heading east. You can head east for as long as you want, but you're never going to arrive there. The goals that you set up along the way are like the little destinations, boop, 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 along the way as you live a value-based life. So for example, you have values like integrity, courage, faithfulness, strength, compassion, discipline, leadership, creativity. So you don't achieve integrity, you practice it daily. If you look at addiction and values, addiction really starts to shrink your world, make you really narrow-minded, whereas values starts to expand your world. So you need values before anything else. Most people have never intentionally constructed a vision for their life. Sure, you may hear things like, oh, I want to be successful, or I want to be rich, I want to be happy. That's not a clear vision. That's not even a vision at all for yourself. You need to make this clear. So it needs to be detailed things about your own identity. So for example, things like, what does your morning look like? What shape is your body currently in? How do you want to speak? How do you currently speak? What kind of work do you do? What kind of friend are you? What kind of father are you? What kind of husband are you? And then start to create the vision for yourself of who you want to be based off of your answers. So if you say you're a crappy husband, what can you do to start to change that? When you lack identity clarity, you're going to automatically drift or default to impulse, because that's just what your body knows. That's your brain doing its job to try and make your life easier by doing what it already knows. So you are either going to live by design or you're going to live by your appetite, and you get to decide that. So I encourage you this week, if you haven't already, I mean, maybe you never have in your life, to write a 3-year vision for your life. Who are you currently, and who do you want to become? And identify what is in those gaps and how you can fill those to get from who you are today to where you want to go. But if you don't give that any thought, if you don't know, then what makes you think that you're going to become this person you want when you don't know who that person is to begin with? Your brain needs a target, something to go for, something to strive for, because without it, your brain is naturally going to seek novelty. And what's the best novelty that you can think of at the top of your head? Porn. And so again, your brain isn't trying to make you not hit your goals and wants to keep you this way for the rest of your life. I mean, kind of low-key it does. But it needs direction, because without it, it's just going to keep going through the motions, but it can change, and you can help the brain work in your favor, but you need a vision. You need to know where you're going in the first place. And then from there, your brain can start to kick in and start to help and drive you towards that direction. So really think about your values. You can go, and I might, if I forget this, I probably will, but you can just look up a values worksheet, values handout to try and find out your own values. Just Google it, like values finder or whatever. I'll try and find one and put one in the description, but I will most likely probably forget. So you can easily find one on Google though. But find your values. Now, finding and knowing your values is good, but that's not enough. Knowing your values means nothing if you don't act on them. So once you know your values, you need to act on them, which is going to create a new healthy identity reinforcement, which is going to give you more motivation. Notice how motivation is at the end of this little equation. Sometimes you're going to feel motivated, and that's great. Take advantage of that when it happens. But most of the time, you're not going to feel motivated. You need to know your values, act on those. What does that look like? And that's going to create this identity, start to create this new identity and reinforce that, which is going to give you more motivation as you start to see yourself become this person that you want. So you don't need to feel inspired. You just need to feel alignment. You need to have alignment, and inspiration and motivation will follow. So some easy things you can do is identify or choose 3 of your core values and define what each of those values looks like behaviorally. What is something you can do that's in line with that value? And then take one daily action that's aligned with each and track your consistency. You're not looking for perfection here, you're just looking at your overall consistency. So for example, if you have a value of integrity, then tell the truth when it's going to cost you. If you have a value of discipline, wake up when you said you were going to. And if you have a value of connection, then text a friend, call a family member, and initiate connection. Every aligned action that you do is going to weaken this addiction identity that you've created over the years, over the decades. And it's going to strengthen this future, this improved version of yourself. And slowly it's going to start to become your own reality. When you live in alignment with your own values, you actually experience earned dopamine rather than just artificial dopamine that you get from pornography, social media, all those things that we've talked about a bunch. You start to build self-trust. You increase your own frustration tolerance. You reduce your boredom. You reduce your shame. Purpose is going to end up changing your own reward system. Short-term stimulation is going to start to become less appealing when long-term identity matters more to you. Because when you don't have this vision for yourself, when you don't know where to go, then the short-term gratification, it makes more sense, right? Because you don't know what's in the long term. You don't know which direction to go. But once you have values, you'll start to have direction. And that long-term identity is going to start to matter more to you when you start actually living in that way. And you start to see that this can really happen. You can become this person that you have thought up, this vision of yourself, this person that you want to become. Addiction is compelling when you don't believe you are capable of doing something better. So start to become the man or the woman who doesn't need pornography in their life. Ask yourself, well, instead of asking yourself, how do I quit porn? Shift that to, who am I becoming? Focus on who you want to be and where you want to go, rather than who you have been and this identity that you are stuck in. Because the person with clear direction, strong values, consistent action, community support, and a purpose and value-driven identity doesn't rely on escape in the same way that this current version of yourself does. At the end of the day, you don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your identity. And so if you want freedom, build a life that's worth being present for, and you'll start to see a change. If you made it this far, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. And you're doing so much better than you think you are. Your worth is 100%. You are enough. If you decided to stay this way the rest of your life, you are enough. And you can become the person that you've always wanted to be. It's possible. All it takes is consistency and time. And eventually, you'll become that person. All right, you guys, peace out. I'll talk to you next week.